He sent the text to the wrong number. A Korean Mafia boss replied, "Don't move. I'm coming." Jeremy Frost's fingers trembled over the cracked screen. His left arm hung at an obscene angle, bone grinding against fractured bone with every breath. The bathroom tiles pressed ice into his spine, but he barely felt it. All he felt was the wrongness, the wet heat of blood seeping through his sleeve, the suppressants wearing off too fast, the animal terror of an Omega trapped. Tae-sung's fist hammered against the door. "Jeremy, baby, open up. Let me see it. Let me fix this." His husband. The alpha who'd bonded him 3 years ago in a courthouse that smelled like disinfectant and broken promises. The alpha who just grabbed his arm with both hands and twisted until something inside snapped like kindling. "You know I didn't mean it. You made me lose control." Jeremy knew better than to answer. Silence fed Tae-sung's rage, but words fed it faster. He fumbled for his phone with his good hand, vision swimming. He needed Hajin. His friend would come. His friend always came. The screen smeared red under his thumb as he scrolled through contacts. Everything looked the same through tears and terror, names blurring into shapes, numbers into nonsense. He pressed what had to be Hajin's name and typed with one shaking finger. "He broke my arm. Going to force my heat. Can't hold him off. 2453 Westfield App 17 please." He hit send and prayed. The door shuttered. Tae-sung's voice dropped to that silky register that always came before the worst of it. "Jeremy, I'm asking nicely. Don't make me break down this door." His phone buzzed. "Who is this?" Jeremy's heart fell through the floor. Wrong number. He texted a stranger while Tae-sung was seconds away from. No. No. He typed again, faster, messier. "Wrong number, sorry but please. Husband broke my arm. Breaking down door. Need help." 3 seconds of silence. Then. "Don't move. I'm coming. Confirm address." Jeremy's breath caught. He didn't know who this person was. Didn't know if they were real or cruel or even in the same city. But they were all he had. 2453 Westfield Apartments Unit 17. "Please hurry. Please don't call police." Another buzz. "Stay hidden. 10 minutes. Hold on. 10 minutes." The door splintered. He'd be dead in 10 minutes. Jeremy pressed himself against the bathroom wall, arm cradled to his chest, and counted his remaining breaths. The door had stopped shaking. That was worse. Tae-sung always went quiet before the real violence began. He closed his eyes and waited for the end. Then, new sounds. Not the door splintering. Something else. Something wrong. The apartment's front door didn't open. It disintegrated. Metal shrieked. Wood exploded. And Tae-sung's voice shifted from that dangerous silk to something Jeremy had never heard before. Fear. "Who the fuck? Get out. I'm a detective, I'll have you arrested for." The wet crack of bone meeting concrete cut him short. Then silence. Absolute and terrifying. Jeremy's Omega instinct screamed at him to stay small, stay hidden, stay quiet. But his human mind knew, whoever just entered wasn't here for Tae-sung's collection of stolen evidence or dirty money. They were here because of a text sent to the wrong number. They were here for him. Footsteps approached the bathroom. Measured. Unhurried. The kind of steps that belonged to someone who'd already won and knew it. Jeremy's suppressants were failing. He could feel heat creeping up his spine, panic threatening to trigger what Tae-sung had been trying to force for hours. His body didn't know the difference between danger and rescue, it only knew alpha, and there was one on the other side of that door. The handle didn't break. Didn't smash. Someone picked the lock with surgical precision, and the door swung open on silent hinges. The man standing in the doorway didn't belong in Jeremy's shattered world. He was tall, taller than Tae-sung, dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than Jeremy's cello. Not a hair out of place despite whatever violence had just occurred in the living room. His face was all sharp angles and cold beauty, the kind that belonged on magazine covers or crime scene photographs. And his eyes. Winter and soul. Black ice and calculated destruction. But it was the scent that made Jeremy's breath catch. Frost and smoke and something darker, richer, like expensive whiskey and winter pine. A prime alpha's scent, undeniable and overwhelming. It should have terrified him. Should have sent every omega instinct into panic mode. Instead, his body went still. Calm. Like his biology recognized something his mind couldn't process. The man's gaze traveled over Jeremy with clinical precision, cataloging injuries, calculating damage, assessing threat level. When his eyes landed on Jeremy's shattered arm, something lethal flickered across his expression. "You texted me," he said, voice dangerously soft. Korean accent wrapped around perfect English, each word precisely placed. "That makes you mine to protect." Jeremy's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The stranger, Seo-jin, his mind supplied, though he didn't know how he knew, crossed the bathroom in 2 strides and shrugged out of his suit jacket. The movement was fluid, practiced, like he'd done this 1,000 times before. "This will hurt," Seo-jin said, and wrapped the jacket around Jeremy's shoulders. It did hurt. Everything hurt. But the jacket was warm and smelled like safety Jeremy didn't deserve, and when Seo-jin slid one arm beneath his knees and the other behind his back, Jeremy didn't fight. "Wait," his voice came out broken. "Who are you?" "Someone who's been waiting a very long time for you to ask for help." Seo-jin lifted him effortlessly, cradling Jeremy against his chest like he weighed nothing. "Hold on to me." Jeremy's good hand fisted in Seo-jin's shirt as they left the bathroom. The living room looked like a hurricane had passed through. Furniture overturned. Glass everywhere. And Tae-sung. Tae-sung was on the floor, conscious but broken. His right arm bent at an angle that mirrored Jeremy's left. Blood streamed from his nose, his mouth, somewhere in his hairline. 2 men in black tactical gear stood over him, guns trained with professional indifference. Seo-jin didn't slow down. Didn't even glance at Tae-sung as he passed. But as they reached the destroyed doorway, Seo-jin paused. Looked back. And when he spoke, his voice dropped to something that made Jeremy's blood run cold. "If you come for him again," Seo-jin said, each word a death sentence, "there won't be enough of you left to identify." Tae-sung tried to speak. Choked on blood instead. Seo-jin turned away like the man on the floor had already ceased to exist. Jeremy buried his face in Seo-jin's shoulder as they stepped into the hallway. His arm screamed. His heat suppressants were failing. A stranger was carrying him away from his husband, his home, his entire life. And the most terrifying part? He'd never felt safer. Jeremy woke to the smell of antiseptic and something else, jasmine, maybe, or expensive soap. Not the cheap industrial cleaner Tae-sung used to scrub away evidence. Something softer. Richer. His arm didn't hurt. That was the first wrong thing. The second was the ceiling. Not water-stained drywall but smooth white plaster, recessed lighting casting a warm glow that didn't belong in his world. He turned his head slowly, and his breath caught. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Seoul's skyline spread out like scattered diamonds against velvet night. He was high, impossibly high, above the city he'd lived in for 3 years without ever really seeing it like this. "Ah. You're awake." Jeremy jerked toward the voice, pain lancing through his chest despite whatever drugs were in his system. A woman in pale blue scrubs stood beside the bed, tablet in hand, expression professionally neutral. "Easy," she said in Korean, then switched to English. "Your arm is set. Clean break, no surgery needed. You'll be in the cast for 6 weeks." She gestured to his left arm, now wrapped in pristine white fiberglass. "We've also administered suppressant boosters. Your levels were dangerously low." Jeremy stared at her. At the medical equipment beside the bed. At the 4 in his good arm. "Where?" His voice cracked. "Where am I?" "Safe." She made a note on her tablet. "Mr. Seo-jin will speak with you when you're ready. For now, rest. There's water on the nightstand, and if you need anything, press the button on the remote." She left before he could ask anything else. Jeremy sat up slowly, testing his body. Everything worked except the arm, which hung in a sling against his chest. Someone had changed his clothes. Gone were his blood-soaked shirt and jeans, replaced with soft cotton pajamas that probably cost more than his monthly grocery budget. He slid out of bed. His legs held. The bedroom was larger than his entire apartment had been. Minimalist furniture in shades of cream and gray, abstract art on the walls that he suspected was original, not prints. A door on the left led to a bathroom done in white marble and chrome, rainfall shower big enough for 3 people, toiletries that came in bottles without price tags because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford them. Another door revealed a sitting room. More windows. More soul. A bookshelf filled with titles in Korean, English, and Japanese. A sound system that looked like it belonged in a recording studio. And everywhere, that scent. Frost and smoke and something that made his omega hindbrain whisper safe, safe, safe even as his human mind screamed trap. Jeremy found the main door and tried the handle. Locked. No. Not locked. There was a keycard reader beside it, glowing soft red. He searched the rooms frantically, looking for a keycard, a key, anything. Nothing. The realization settled over him like ice water. He wasn't a guest. He was a prisoner. A prisoner in a penthouse that probably cost more per month than he'd earn in a year, but a prisoner nonetheless. Jeremy was standing at the window, forehead pressed to the cold glass, when he heard the door unlock. Seo-jin entered carrying a tray. He changed from the suit into dark slacks and a black button-down, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Still looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread. Still looked like he could kill someone with his bare hands and not get blood on his clothes. You should be resting, Seo-jin said, setting the tray on the sitting room table. The smell of food hit Jeremy's stomach. Beef bulgogi, rice, banchan, soup. Real food. Not the instant ramen he'd been living on for months. I want to leave, Jeremy said. No. Seo-jin poured water into a glass, precise and unhurried. Sit. Eat. We'll talk. I don't want to. Jeremy. His name in Seo-jin's mouth was a command and a caress. Sit. Jeremy's legs moved before his brain caught up. He Saturday. Hated himself for it. Seo-jin pushed the tray closer. Eat first. Then talk. I'm not hungry. You haven't eaten in over 24 hours. Your medical team said you were malnourished even before the injury. Seo-jin's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in his eyes. Eat. Jeremy picked up the chopsticks with his good hand. The food was perfect. Restaurant quality. It made him want to cry. Why can't I leave? He asked between bites, pride warring with survival instinct. Because you're not safe yet. You can't just keep me here. I can. Seo-jin leaned back in his chair, utterly relaxed, utterly certain. And I will. Until the threat is neutralized. The threat has a name. Taesung. My husband. Your abuser. The word came out like a blade. Who is currently in a hospital bed under police guard, spinning a story about a home invasion. Who filed a missing person report for his emotionally disturbed Omega 3 hours ago. Who has every intention of finding you the moment he's released. Jeremy's appetite died. Then I need to run. Disappear. Not stay here like someone under my protection? Seo-jin's eyes pinned him in place. That's exactly what you are. I didn't ask for this. You texted me. You asked for help. Seo-jin stood, crossed to the window, hands in his pockets. I'm giving it to you. Whether you want it or not. Jeremy shot to his feet, ignoring the way his head spun. You can't make that choice for me. Seo-jin turned. And for the first time, Jeremy saw something other than cold calculation in those winter eyes. Possession. You're safe here, Seo-jin said quietly. That's all that matters right now. It wasn't a promise. It was a declaration of ownership. And Jeremy didn't know if he wanted to fight it or surrender to it. 3 days passed in the penthouse. 3 days of medical checkups, carefully prepared meals, and windows that showed Jeremy a world he couldn't touch. His arm throbbed less. His suppressant stabilized. His mind started cataloging exits that didn't exist. On the 4th day, Seo-jin summoned him to his office. Jeremy had avoided that part of the penthouse, the west wing where Seo-jin disappeared for hours at a time, where voices spoke in rapid Korean through closed doors, where the sound of violence was replaced by the quieter violence of business. But the request wasn't really a request. The office was all dark wood and leather, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined with titles in multiple languages, a desk that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of ebony. And covering that desk, photographs, documents, evidence. Jeremy's stomach dropped. "Sit," Seojin said, not looking up from the file he was reading. Jeremy Saturday stared at the images spread before him like accusations. Security footage stills. Police reports. Medical records he'd never authorized anyone to see. What is this? The truth. Seojin closed the file and leaned back, fingers steepled. What your husband has been doing since you disappeared. Jeremy's good hand clenched into a fist. We're not. You're legally bonded. Registered with the National Omega Registry. Married in a civil ceremony 3 years ago. Seojin's voice was clinical, a doctor delivering a terminal diagnosis. In the eyes of the law, you are his. The words hit like a physical blow. Seojin slid a document across the desk. Official letterhead. Police department seal. Jeremy's own face staring back at him from a missing person report. He filed this 6 hours after I took you, Seojin continued. Claims his emotionally unstable Omega husband fled during a severe mental health crisis. Says you've been off your suppressants, exhibiting erratic behavior, making unfounded accusations against him. Jeremy read the report with growing horror. Every word was a lie wrapped in just enough truth to be believable. Yes, he'd been erratic, because he'd been terrified. Yes, his suppressants had been irregular, because Taesung controlled access to them. Yes, he'd accused Taesung of abuse, because it was true. But on paper, it looked like an Omega in crisis. An Alpha trying to help. His calling in favors, Seojin said. Using department resources to track you. Your phone, destroyed, but has already pulled records. Your bank accounts, frozen pending investigation. Your friends, all interviewed, all told that you need help, that you're not thinking clearly. Hajin wouldn't. Your friend Hajin was visited by 2 detectives yesterday. Told that harboring you would be considered obstruction of justice. Seojin's expression didn't change, but something dangerous entered his voice. They've built a very convincing case that you're a danger to yourself. Jeremy's breath came shallow. So he wins. He gets away with it. Legally? Seojin pulled up another document on his tablet, turned it toward Jeremy. Yes. Omega protection laws are written to favor alphas. Your bond is registered. Running from your bonded alpha is grounds for mandatory counseling, possible institutionalization and if you're deemed a threat to yourself or others. The walls were closing in again. Different walls, better furniture, but still a cage. If he finds you, Seojin continued, voice like frost over steel, he can legally compel your return. The courts will side with him. You'll be labeled unstable, possibly medicated against your will, and returned to his custody. Jeremy stood abruptly, chair scraping against hardwood. Then what's the point of all this? His voice cracked. Why save me just to tell me I'm still trapped? That I never had a chance? Seojin rose slowly, moved around the desk with predatory grace. He didn't touch Jeremy, but he was close enough that his scent wrapped around them both, frost and smoke and something darker. The point, Seojin said, each word precisely placed, is that I don't particularly care about the law. Jeremy's breath caught. Taesung thinks the legal system will protect him. That his badge and your bond make him untouchable. Seojin's smile was absolutely merciless. He's about to learn there are worse things than legal consequences. You can't just, what are you going to do? What needs to be done? Seojin gestured to the evidence on his desk. I've been documenting his crimes for years. Gambling debts, evidence tampering, 3 brutality complaints that mysteriously disappeared, 2 other Omegas who filed restraining orders before you. Jeremy's mind reeled. You've been watching him? I've been watching you. Something raw flickered across Seojin's face before the mask returned. He was simply the obstacle I was waiting for you to leave. And when I didn't leave, I waited. Seojin's voice dropped. I would have waited forever, Jeremy. But then you sent that text, and I had my opening. Jeremy backed up until he hit the bookshelf. This is insane. You're talking about, what, destroying a police detective? Starting a war with the law? I'm talking about removing a threat. Seojin closed the distance between them, one hand braced against the shelf beside Jeremy's head. Not touching, but trapping. The law failed you. Society failed you. Every system designed to protect Omegas failed you. And you think you're better? No. Seojin's eyes were black ice and burning coal all at once. I think I'm worse. But I'm yours. And I will burn every institution in this city to ash before I let him take you back. Jeremy should have been terrified. Should have run, fought, done anything except stand there feeling like he'd just been claimed more thoroughly than any bond could manage. He'll come for me, Jeremy whispered. I'm counting on it. Seojin's smile was a promise of violence. Let him come. The medical team came every morning. Checked Jeremy's vitals, monitored his healing, adjusted his suppressant dosage with professional efficiency. They were kind but distant, treating him like a patient rather than a person. So when Seojin appeared in his bedroom on the fifth evening with a first aid kit, Jeremy didn't understand. The bandages need changing, Seojin said, setting the kit on the bathroom counter. The doctor comes tomorrow. I know. Seojin's expression was unreadable. But I'll do it tonight. Jeremy wanted to argue. Should have argued. But exhaustion had settled into his bones like lead, and the thought of one more person examining him like a specimen made his skin crawl. Fine, he said, and followed Seojin into the bathroom. The marble was cold under his thighs as Seojin lifted him onto the counter with effortless strength. Jeremy's legs dangled, bare feet not quite reaching the floor, and he felt suddenly, acutely vulnerable. Seojin washed his hands with surgical precision. Laid out supplies in neat rows, gauze, antiseptic, medical tape. His movements were economical, practiced, like he'd done this 1,000 times. Give me your arm, Seojin said quietly. Jeremy extended his good arm. Watched as Seojin carefully unwrapped the bandaging around the cast, revealing the bruised skin beneath. Yellowing now, fading from purple to green. Healing. Seojin's fingers were warm against Jeremy's skin. Gentle in a way that didn't match the man who'd broken Taesung's arm without hesitation, who'd destroyed a door like it was paper, who kept Jeremy locked in a gilded cage. You've done this before, Jeremy observed, watching those hands work. Seojin's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Yes. Medical training? No. Seojin soaked a gauze pad in antiseptic, dabbed at a small abrasion near Jeremy's elbow. I've caused injuries. Learning to mend them seemed appropriate. The admission hung between them like smoke. Jeremy watched Seojin's face, the concentration there, the careful attention to every bruise and scrape. This close, he could see details he'd missed before. A small scar through Seojin's left eyebrow. The precise way his hair fell across his forehead. The almost imperceptible tremor in his hands that suggested this wasn't as easy as he made it look. Does it hurt? Seojin asked, fingers ghosting over a particularly dark bruise. No. The lie came automatically. Seojin's eyes flicked up to meet his. Don't lie to me. Why not? You're lying to me. About what? About why you're doing this. Jeremy gestured to the supplies, the careful ministrations. You have a medical team. You don't need to. I want to. The words were sharp, final. Seojin returned his attention to Jeremy's arm. There's a difference. The intimacy of it was hypnotic and wrong. This man had brutalized his husband. This man was keeping him prisoner. This man spoke about violence like other people discussed the weather. And yet these hands were the gentlest that had touched Jeremy in years. Seo-jin rewrapped the bandage with meticulous care, securing it with medical tape. Then he reached for Jeremy's other hand, the one not in the cast, and Jeremy's breath caught. "This one too," Seo-jin murmured, examining the scrapes on Jeremy's knuckles. "From when you fell?" Jeremy nodded, not trusting his voice. Seo-jin cleaned each scrape with the same careful attention. His thumb pressed against Jeremy's palm, steadying his hand, and then his thumb brushed the inside of Jeremy's wrist. They both froze. The spot where Seo-jin's skin met his was a scent gland, one of the most sensitive points on an Omega's body. Jeremy's suppressants were active, strong enough to prevent heat, but they couldn't stop this. Couldn't stop the way his body recognized Seo-jin's touch like a key finding its lock. The air shifted. Charged. Seo-jin's scent intensified, frost and smoke and something darker, richer, like burnt sugar and winter storms. It wrapped around Jeremy like a physical thing, made his Omega hindbrain purr with satisfaction even as his conscious mind screamed danger. Jeremy's pupils dilated. His breath came faster. And Seo-jin looked like a man standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss and considering jumping. Jeremy. His name was a warning and a prayer. "You should go," Jeremy whispered, pulling his hand back. For a moment, Seo-jin didn't move. His eyes were black, pupils blown wide, and Jeremy could see the war happening behind them, instinct versus control, want versus should. Then Seo-jin stepped back. Packed up the medical supplies with shaking hands. Didn't look at Jeremy as he headed for the door. He paused at the threshold, back rigid. "Lock the door behind me," he said, voice rough. Then he was gone. Jeremy sat on the bathroom counter for a long time after, staring at his wrist where Seo-jin's thumb had pressed. The skin there felt branded, burning, alive. He could still smell him. Frost and smoke and possession. The scent lingered for hours, wrapping around Jeremy like a promise. Or a threat. He couldn't tell the difference anymore. Jeremy woke to music. Not real music, the phantom kind that lived in his fingers, the muscle memory of pieces he'd never play again. His hands moved in his sleep sometimes, conducting invisible orchestras, bowing invisible strings. He opened his eyes to dawn light filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and that's when he saw it. In the sitting room, catching the first rays of sunrise like it had been placed there by divine intervention, a cello. Jeremy's heart stopped. He threw off the covers, crossed the room in bare feet, certain he was hallucinating. Some cruel trick of the light, his mind conjuring what it missed most. But it was real. Solid wood under his trembling fingers. Spruce top with grain so perfect it looked like flowing water. Maple back and sides that gleamed like honey in the growing light. The scroll was carved with delicate precision, the pegs ebony inlaid with mother of pearl. This wasn't just a cello. This was art. This was someone's masterpiece. Jeremy's throat closed. He ran his fingers over the strings, perfectly tuned, waiting, and something inside him broke open. Not the cello Tai-sung had smashed 2 years ago in a rage over burnt dinner. Not the student instrument Jeremy had scrimped and saved for. This was worth more than anything he'd ever owned. More than everything he'd ever owned combined. "Do you like it?" Jeremy spun. Seo-jin stood in the doorway, still dressed in yesterday's clothes, like he'd been awake all night. His expression was carefully neutral, but his eyes held something raw and exposed. "Where did you get this?" Jeremy's voice came out broken. "I commissioned it. 3 years ago." Seo-jin moved into the room with that predatory grace. "From a luthier in Italy. I gave him very specific instructions. The measurements had to be exact." "My measurements?" Jeremy's hands shook on the instrument. "Yes." "Why?" Seo-jin was quiet for a long moment. "Then, I saw you perform once. 5 years ago." Jeremy's breath caught. "An underground venue in Itaewon," Seo-jin continued, voice soft. "The kind of place that doesn't advertise, that only exists if you know where to look. I was there for business, meeting someone I ended up killing 3 hours later. But then you walked on stage." He stopped. Something flickered across his face, pain, longing, something too complicated to name. You played Elgar, Seojin said. The cello concerto in E minor. And he looked away, jaw tight. I've never believed in fate. Never believed in anything I couldn't control or kill or buy. But watching you that night, I understood why people do. Jeremy couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. 5 years. 5 years ago he'd been 23, still hopeful, still believing his music could save him. That performance had been one of his last before Taesung entered his life. You've been watching me for 5 years. The accusation came out like broken glass. Protecting you, Seojin corrected, finally meeting his eyes. Do you think Taesung's gambling debts disappeared on their own? He owed the wrong people money, people who would have killed him and made you collateral damage. I paid them. Quietly. Repeatedly. Jeremy's mind reeled. That the charges from his brutality complaints vanished by accident. Seojin continued, voice gaining intensity. I made them disappear. Made witnesses recant. Made evidence get lost. I've been cleaning up his messes for years, keeping him just stable enough that he wouldn't destroy you, waiting, his voice cracked. Waiting for you to leave. Why didn't you just, Jeremy couldn't finish the sentence. Just what? Kill Taesung? Take Jeremy by force? Because you needed to choose it yourself. Seojin's voice was fierce now, almost angry. You needed to be the one to walk away. To ask for help. I could have taken you 1,000 times, Jeremy. I could have made Taesung disappear and no one would have questioned it. Then why didn't you? Because I didn't want to be another alpha who stole your choices. Seojin crossed to him, and Jeremy could see the war in his eyes, control fracturing, something desperate bleeding through. I would have waited another 5 years. 50. 100. I'd rather orbit your life forever than force my way into it. Jeremy's hands tightened on the cello. That's insane. I know. You're telling me you've been, what, stalking me? Playing guardian angel? For half a decade. Yes. That's not protection, Seojin. That's obsession. I know that too. Seojin's smile was bitter, self-aware. I'm not a good man, Jeremy. I've killed people for less than looking at me wrong. I've built an empire on violence and fear. But you, his voice dropped to something raw. You were the only beautiful thing I'd ever seen that I didn't want to destroy. Jeremy's throat burned. This was wrong. All of it. A mafia boss confessing 5 years of surveillance like it was devotion. A cello worth hundreds of thousands commissioned for an omega he'd never spoken to. Protection that looked like possession. But standing there in dawn light with an instrument that had been made for his hands specifically, Jeremy realized something terrifying. This wasn't just obsession. This was devotion. Religious. Absolute. And he didn't know which was more dangerous. Play something, Seojin said quietly. Please. I've waited 5 years to hear you again. Jeremy's fingers found the bow. Settled the cello between his knees. The weight was perfect. The balance was divine. He drew the bow across the strings, and the sound that emerged was everything he'd forgotten music could be. Rich. Pure. Alive. And when he looked up through tears he didn't remember shedding, Seojin was watching him like a man witnessing salvation. Or damnation. Jeremy couldn't tell the difference anymore. Jeremy had learned the rhythms of the penthouse. Knew when the medical team arrived, when meals appeared, when Seojin disappeared into his office for hours at a time. He'd learned which parts of his cage were his and which belonged to the man who kept him there. The office was Seojin's domain. Off limits. Sacred. Which is why Jeremy noticed when the door was left ajar. It was late, past midnight. Jeremy had been playing the cello, losing himself in Dvorak until his fingers ached. He'd come out to get water and seen it, that sliver of light cutting through the darkness, voices drifting through the gap. He should have gone back to his room. Instead, he moved closer. Overstepped, someone was saying in Korean. Male voice, rough with cigarettes. They hit 3 of our shipments in 2 weeks. Made it personal. Jeremy pressed himself against the wall beside the door, peered through the crack. Seojin sat behind his desk, perfectly still in a way that reminded Jeremy of a blade before it fell. 3 men stood before him, lieutenants, probably, dressed in dark suits that couldn't quite hide the bulk of weapons underneath. How many know it was us? Seojin asked. His voice was different. Not the careful warmth he used with Jeremy, not even the cold precision of their confrontations. This was emptiness. A void that swallowed sound. The Lee crew. Maybe 15 soldiers, 3 captains. Family? 2 of the captains have wives. 1 has kids. Seojin was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then, clean removals. No traces. I wanted to look like they never existed. Jeremy's blood went cold. The families? The rough-voiced man asked. Relocate them. New identities. Enough money that they won't ask questions. Seojin's fingers drummed once against the desk. But make sure they understand, if they ever speak about what their husbands did, they'll disappear too. And the Lee crew itself. Dismantle it. Anyone who swears loyalty can be absorbed into our operations. Anyone who resists, Seojin's pause was surgical. Make it a lesson for the other organizations. I want every crew in Seoul to understand what happens when they touch what's mine. One of the other men shifted. That's 18 people, boss. Maybe more. I can count, Minute Ho. Seojin's voice dropped to something that made Jeremy's skin crawl. The question isn't how many. The question is how public do we make it? Public sends a message. But draws attention. Police, media, complications I don't need right now. Seojin leaned back, and Jeremy caught his profile. Beautiful and terrible, like something carved from ice. Quiet removals. Staged accidents. Space them out over 2 weeks so it looks like bad luck, not executions. Understood. And Minute Ho? Seojin's voice sharpened. If anyone fucks this up, if there's even a whisper that leads back to us, you'll be cleaning up your own crew. Clear? Crystal. This was the Reaper. Not the man who changed Jeremy's bandages with gentle hands. Not the man who'd waited 5 years for a chance to protect him. This was the monster who built empires on corpses and spoke about murder like quarterly reports. Jeremy's hand trembled against the wall. The meeting ended. Footsteps approached the door, and Jeremy barely managed to slip into the shadows before the 3 men filed out. They didn't see him. Too focused on the orders they'd just received, the lives they were about to end. When silence settled, Jeremy should have left. Should have run back to his room and pretended he'd seen nothing. Instead, he pushed the door fully open and stepped inside. Seojin didn't look up from the document he was reading. How long were you listening? Jeremy's throat was dry. Long enough. Good. Seojin set down the paper, finally met Jeremy's eyes. You should know what I am. I won't pretend to be something softer. 18 people. 18 people who tried to hurt my operations. Who thought they could steal from me without consequences. Seojin stood, moved around the desk. I'm not going to apologize for protecting what's mine, Jeremy. Is that what you call it? Protection? Yes. No hesitation. No shame. This is what I do. This is who I am. The man who makes you breakfast and the man who orders executions, we're not separate people. We're the same. Jeremy wanted to be horrified. Wanted to feel disgust, fear, moral superiority. Instead, all he felt was a strange, terrible understanding. I know, he said quietly. Seojin's expression shifted, surprise, quickly masked. I don't want you to pretend, Jeremy continued, words tumbling out before he could stop them. Soft men don't survive in this world. Soft men don't survive anywhere. They get used. Broken. Discarded. Something flickered across Seojin's face. Is that what happened to you? I tried to be soft. Tried to believe that kindness mattered, that love was enough. Jeremy's laugh was bitter. Tai-sung taught me different. Seo-jin moved closer. I'm not trying to teach you anything, Jeremy. I'm just being honest. Jeremy met his eyes. You're a monster. You kill people. You probably enjoy it. Sometimes. The admission was stark. But you're honest about it. Jeremy's voice dropped. You don't dress it up as love. Don't pretend violence is protection. You just are what you are. And that doesn't terrify you. It should. Jeremy held Seo-jin's gaze. But the man I married pretended to be good. Used softness as a weapon. At least with you, I know where I stand. Seo-jin's expression did something complicated, approval and sorrow and something darker that might have been pride or might have been grief. You deserve better than monsters, Jeremy, he said quietly. Maybe. Jeremy's smile was sharp. But monsters are what I understand now. The silence between them felt like a treaty. An acknowledgement. Jeremy turned to leave, paused at the door. Those families you're relocating, he said. Make sure the kids get therapy funding too. Already in the budget. Jeremy nodded and left. Behind him, Seo-jin stood in his office full of death orders and strategic murders, and realized the Omega he'd claimed understood him better than anyone ever had. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like damnation. Jeremy couldn't sleep. Again. His suppressants were due for renewal in 2 days, and his body knew it. Everything felt heightened, sounds too loud, sense too sharp, his skin too sensitive against the expensive sheets. His Omega instincts were waking up, stretching after their medicated slumber, and they wanted things Jeremy wasn't ready to name. At 3 a.m., he gave up and left his room. The penthouse was dark except for the ambient glow of Seoul below. Jeremy moved through shadows until he reached the terrace, a space he discovered but never used, too exposed, too much like freedom he couldn't have. Seo-jin was there. He stood at the railing, still dressed despite the hour, hands braced against the glass barrier like he was holding back the city itself. Or holding himself together. His scent carried on the cold wind, frost and smoke and something raw that Jeremy's heightened senses caught like a hook. Can't sleep, Jeremy said. Seo-jin didn't turn. Never could. Jeremy moved to stand beside him, leaving careful distance between them. Below, Seoul sprawled like scattered diamonds on black velvet. Millions of lives, millions of stories, and Jeremy was trapped in this one. This strange, dark fairy tale where monsters kept princes in towers. Why are you really doing this? The question came out sharper than intended. Don't tell me it's just obsession. Don't tell me it's protection. Tell me the truth. Seo-jin was quiet for so long Jeremy thought he wouldn't answer. Then. When I heard your voice that night 5 years ago, Seo-jin said, still not looking at him, something in me recognized something in you. Jeremy waited. I've built an empire on violence, Jeremy. I'm not a good man. Seo-jin's knuckles were white against the railing. I've done things that would make you hate me. Things I can't take back, wouldn't take back even if I could. But with you, Seo-jin's voice cracked, just slightly. With you, I want to be someone who could deserve this. Who could deserve you choosing to stay, not because you're trapped, but because you want to. The confession hung between them like broken glass, sharp, dangerous, impossible to ignore. Jeremy's heart hammered against his ribs. His suppressants were failing, his instincts were screaming, and every rational part of his brain was telling him to go back inside, to maintain distance, to not do what he was about to do. He stepped closer. You're right, Jeremy said. You are a monster. Seo-jin finally turned to face him. His eyes were black in the darkness, fathomless and familiar all at once. I know. You've killed people. You'll kill more. You've locked me in a cage made of glass and good intentions and called it protection. Yes. You've been watching me for 5 years like some kind of, Jeremy's breath caught. Like I was something you could possess. I never wanted to possess you. Seojin's voice was raw. I wanted to deserve you. There's a difference. Is there? I don't know. Seojin's laugh was broken. I don't know anything anymore except that I would burn this entire city to keep you safe, and that terrifies me more than anything I've ever done. Jeremy closed the remaining distance between them. Close enough to feel Seojin's body heat, to be wrapped in his scent, to see the war happening behind those winter eyes. You're my monster, Jeremy breathed. Something cracked in Seojin's expression. Jeremy. Mine, Jeremy repeated, and kissed him. For half a second, Seojin was frozen. Then his hands came up to cradle Jeremy's face like he was something precious, breakable, divine. The kiss was inevitable and impossible, dangerous and achingly tender, everything Jeremy had been trying not to want for days. Seojin tasted like smoke and sin and surrender. When they broke apart, both were shaking. This is a terrible idea, Jeremy whispered against Seojin's mouth. I know. Seojin's thumb traced Jeremy's cheekbone, reverent. You should go inside. Lock your door. Forget this happened. Should I? Yes. Jeremy kissed him again instead. This time Seojin made a sound low in his throat, something between a growl and a prayer. His hands slid into Jeremy's hair, angling his head for better access, and Jeremy opened for him like he'd been waiting his whole life for permission to fall. When they broke apart again, Jeremy's suppressants felt like they'd evaporated entirely. His body was singing, his instincts were screaming alpha, mate, mine, and every rational thought was drowning under the weight of want. Jeremy. Seojin's voice was wrecked. If we do this, if you choose this, there's no going back. Good. Jeremy's hands fisted in Seojin's shirt. I'm tired of going back. Tired of being afraid. Tired of soft men who use kindness as a weapon. I'm not kind. No. Jeremy met his eyes. But you're honest. And you're mine. And that's enough. Seojin's kiss this time was different. Deeper, possessive, a claiming that Jeremy felt in his bones. His alpha instincts rose to meet it, that biological imperative that should have terrified Jeremy but instead felt like coming home. Say it again, Seojin demanded against his lips. You're mine. Again. Mine. Jeremy bit Seojin's lower lip, felt the shudder that ran through him. My monster. My salvation. Mine. Seojin made that sound again, broken and desperate and absolutely devoted. The city sprawled below them, indifferent to the collision happening on this terrace. Two damaged people choosing each other in the darkness. A monster who wanted to be worthy and an Omega who'd learned that monsters were the only honest thing left. When they finally pulled apart, Seoul was still burning below, and Jeremy was burning above it. No going back, Seojin whispered. No going back, Jeremy agreed. And kissed him like salvation. Or damnation. He still couldn't tell the difference. Jeremy woke to his phone buzzing. Strange, because his phone had been destroyed. This was a new one, provided by Seojin, with a number only 3 people had. He reached for it in the pre-dawn darkness, still half asleep, still warm from dreams he wouldn't remember. The message was from an unknown number. The photo loaded slowly. And Jeremy's world ended. Daniel. His baby brother, not a baby anymore, 22 and finishing his engineering degree, but still Danny in Jeremy's mind, bound to a chair in what looked like an abandoned warehouse. Duct tape across his mouth. Blood dried on his temple. Eyes wide with terror that Jeremy knew intimately, had worn himself for 3 years. And behind him, just visible in the background, a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Taesung. The text beneath was simple. Come alone, or he dies. You have 12 hours. I'll send the location. Jeremy couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. His hands shook so badly the phone nearly fell. Danny. God, Danny hadn't even wanted to come to the wedding. Had begged Jeremy not to marry Taesung, said something was wrong about him, and Jeremy had been too proud to listen. Had cut his brother out for 2 years because Taesung demanded it, because that's what bonded Omegas do, Because Jeremy had been stupid and blind and... The bedroom door slammed open. Seojin stood there, already dressed despite the hour, his own phone in hand. His face was a mask of cold fury. "Don't," he said. Jeremy looked up. "You knew." "My people intercepted chatter an hour ago. I've been trying to locate him." Seojin crossed the room in 3 strides, reached for Jeremy's phone. "Let me see it." Jeremy handed it over numbly. Watched Seojin's jaw tighten as he examined the photo, the message, the metadata. "He's alive," Seojin said. "That's recent, taken less than 2 hours ago. The blood is old, probably from the initial grab. He's not seriously injured yet." "Yet." "Jeremy. I have to go." Jeremy stood, his mind already calculating. Clothes, shoes, how to get past Seojin's security, how to get to Danny before. "Absolutely not." Seojin's voice was steel. "He's my brother. And it's a trap." Seojin grabbed Jeremy's shoulders, forced him to meet his eyes. "Taesung doesn't want your brother. He wants you broken enough to come crawling back. He'll use Daniel as bait, and the second you show up, he'll have what he really wants, you, alone, vulnerable, with a legal justification to take you back." "I don't care." "I do." Seojin's grip tightened. "You walk into that warehouse, and I lose you. He gets the law on his side, you disappear into the system, and I'll never get you back." Jeremy wrenched free. "Then what?" "I just let Danny die because it's inconvenient for your plans. We get him back my way. Smart. Controlled. With enough firepower that Taesung doesn't walk away from this. In 12 hours. Jeremy's laugh was broken. "You think you can plan an extraction in 12 hours when you don't even know where he is yet?" "I can." "No." Jeremy was already moving, pulling clothes from drawers. "No, you can't promise that. You can't promise Danny stays alive while you play strategist. This is my brother, Seojin. The only family I have left who still gives a damn about me." Seojin watched him dress with an expression like glass about to shatter. "You think I don't understand that? I think you understand tactics and violence and control." Jeremy's voice cracked. "But this isn't a business deal. This is Danny. He's 22 years old, he wants to build bridges, he's never hurt anyone in his entire life. And you going alone will get him killed faster." Seojin's voice dropped to something desperate. "Jeremy, please. Let me handle this." "How?" "I have resources. People who can." "Who can what?" "Storm a warehouse where a police detective is holding a hostage? Create an international incident? Get Danny shot in the crossfire?" Jeremy shook his head. "No. I'm going. I could lock you in that room right now." Seojin's eyes were black, fathomless. "Chain you to the bed if I had to. Keep you safe by force." Jeremy met his gaze. "You could." Silence stretched between them like a blade. "But you won't," Jeremy continued, quieter now. "Because you said you wanted me to choose. Because you spent 5 years waiting for me to choose freedom. Because locking me up to protect me makes you exactly what Taesung was." Seojin flinched like he'd been struck. "So let me choose this," Jeremy said. "Let me choose to fight. To save my brother. To walk into that trap with my eyes open because it's the right thing to do. It's suicide. Maybe." Jeremy crossed to him, placed a hand on Seojin's chest. Felt his heart hammering beneath the expensive fabric. "But it's my choice. Mine. You don't get to take that from me, no matter how much you want to keep me safe." Seojin's hand came up to cover Jeremy's. His expression was agony. "I just got you. I'm not ready to lose you. Then help me." Jeremy's voice was fierce. "Use your resources, your network, your terrifying competence. But help me do this, don't try to stop me from doing this. If I help you walk into that trap, then you're trusting me to survive it." Seojin closed his eyes. A muscle jumped in his jaw. When he opened them again, they were full of something that looked like grief. You're going to get yourself killed. Probably not. Jeremy managed a smile. I've got you, remember? My monster. Jeremy. Please. The word was barely a whisper. Please, Seo-jin. I know I'm asking you to go against every instinct. I know this terrifies you. But I'm asking anyway. Help me save my brother. The silence that followed felt eternal. Then Seo-jin's shoulders sagged, just slightly. Defeat. Acceptance. Fine. His voice was rough. But we do this smart. Controlled. With contingencies for every possible outcome. Jeremy's breath escaped in a rush. Thank you. Don't thank me. Seo-jin pulled out his phone, already typing. If you die, I'm burning Seoul to the ground and following you into hell. Dramatic. Accurate. Seo-jin looked up, and his eyes were absolutely merciless. But Jeremy? If we're doing this, we're doing it right. That means you follow my lead. Trust my people. And we're a wire that broadcasts everything back to me. Done. And you go in armed. Knife minimum. Gun if you can handle it. I can handle it. And, Seo-jin crossed to him, cupped his face with both hands. And you come back to me. Alive. Whole. That's not negotiable. Jeremy leaned into the touch. I'll try. Promise me. I promise to try, Seo-jin. That's all I've got. Seo-jin kissed him, hard, desperate, like he could seal the promise with his mouth. When they broke apart, his eyes were haunted. I hate this, he whispered. I know. If anything happens to you, then you'll burn the world down. Jeremy managed a smile. I know that too. Seo-jin's phone buzzed. He checked it, jaw tightening. Location just came through. Industrial district. Abandoned textile factory. How long to get there? 20 minutes with morning traffic. Seo-jin was already moving, already coordinating. We've got 11 hours and 40 minutes. Enough time to plan, but not enough time for subtlety. Jeremy followed him toward the office. Danny's terrified face burned into his mind. Hold on, he thought. I'm coming. Just hold on. Behind them, dawn broke over Seoul. Beautiful. Indifferent. And somewhere in an abandoned factory, a trap was waiting to spring. The abandoned textile factory sat on the outskirts of Seoul like a rotting tooth. All broken windows and rusted metal, the kind of place where screams didn't carry and bodies disappeared into concrete. Jeremy stared at it from the back of Seo-jin's SUV, bile rising in his throat. Team Alpha in position, a voice crackled through Seo-jin's earpiece. North side secured. Team Bravo positioned. South side clear. Snipers report 3 heat signatures inside. 2 stationary, 1 mobile. Seo-jin's jaw tightened. The mobile one is Tae-sung. Stationary signatures are Daniel and probably a guard. Jeremy's hands clenched in his lap. 10 hours of planning. 10 hours of Seo-jin's people moving into position like pieces on a chessboard. Watchers on every corner. Snipers on surrounding roofs. Every exit blocked, every angle covered. This wasn't a rescue. It was an execution waiting to happen. He'll have contingencies, Jeremy said quietly. Not for the first time. I know. Police backup waiting to arrest your men for kidnapping an Omega from his lawful Alpha. I know. This isn't just about violence. Jeremy turned to face him. This is about public humiliation. Legal victory. Proving ownership. He wants me to walk in there, cameras recording, and beg him to take me back. Seo-jin's smile was absolutely predatory. Then we'll give him a show. The plan had formed between them over hours of strategy and contingency. Jeremy would walk in wearing a wire that broadcasted to 3 separate receivers. Every word Tae-sung spoke would be recorded, streamed live to Seo-jin's operations center, and queued for simultaneous release to every news outlet and police internal affairs department in Seoul. Tae-sung wanted evidence? They'd give him evidence. Just not the kind he expected. Check the wire again, Seo-jin ordered. Minute-ho leaned forward from the driver's seat, adjusted the nearly invisible device hidden under Jeremy's collar. Signal strong. 5-kilometer range. Battery good for 6 hours. The knife? Jeremy shifted, felt the blade strapped to his ankle. There. The gun? His hand moved to the small pistol tucked into the small of his back, hidden under his jacket. There. Extra magazine? Left pocket. Seo-jin nodded, but his expression was carved from ice and fear. And the panic button? Jeremy held up his right hand. What looked like a simple silver ring caught the light. Trigger mechanism in the band. Twist it 90 degrees and your entire team descends. Not just my team. Seo-jin's voice dropped. Me. I'll be the first one through that door. I know. They've been over this. Over and over. Jeremy walks in alone. Plays the broken Omega. Lets Taesung monologue, confess, reveal every crime in HD audio. The moment things go south, the moment Taesung makes a move to take Jeremy by force, the ring triggers and Seo-jin's people storm the building. Clean. Controlled. Legal, or as legal as anything Seo-jin did could be. 5 minutes, Minute-ho said. Seo-jin turned to Jeremy, and for the first time since they'd started planning, the mask cracked. Fear bled through. Raw and desperate. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. We could still find another way. Seo-jin. Jeremy caught his face between his hands. We've been over this. I know, but, Seo-jin's breath shuddered. Jeremy, if anything happens to you in there, then you burn the world down. I know. You've told me 6 times. Jeremy smiled, though his heart was hammering. But nothing's going to happen. We planned for everything. Not everything. We can't plan for everything. Then we improvise. Jeremy leaned forward, pressed their foreheads together. Trust me. I'm not going to die today. I'm not going to let Taesung win. I'm walking into that factory, I'm getting my brother out, and I'm coming back to you. Promise me. I promise. The kiss was brief, fierce, tasted like fear and faith in equal measure. When they broke apart, Seo-jin pressed something into Jeremy's palm. A small device, no bigger than a coin, warm from his pocket. What? Secondary panic button. Seo-jin's voice was rough. If the ring fails, if you can't reach it, trigger this. Press the center for 3 seconds. And then? Then I burn the building down to get to you. Seo-jin's eyes were absolutely merciless. I don't care about the plan at that point. I don't care about evidence or legal consequences or collateral damage. You trigger that, and I'm coming for you with everything I have. Jeremy closed his fist around the device. Slipped it into his pocket. Understood. 2 minutes, Minute-ho warned. Jeremy checked himself one final time. Wire secure. Weapons hidden. Ring ready. He looked like what Taesung expected to see, a desperate Omega, broken and afraid, coming to beg for mercy. The performance of his life. Remember, Seo-jin said, he's going to try to get in your head. Make you doubt yourself. Make you feel small. I know. Don't let him. I won't. You're not the Omega he broke, Jeremy. You're not weak. You're not property. Jeremy met his eyes. I know what I am. What's that? Yours. Jeremy's smile was sharp. And you don't share. Something fierce and possessive blazed in Seo-jin's expression. No. I don't. The SUV rolled to a stop 300 meters from the factory entrance. Close enough to walk. Far enough to not spook Taesung's contingencies. Jeremy's hand was on the door handle when Seo-jin caught his wrist. Jeremy. He turned back. Come back to me. Not an order. A plea. Always. Jeremy stepped out into the cold Seoul morning. The factory loomed ahead, its broken windows like empty eye sockets, Rusted doors hanging open like a mouth ready to swallow him whole. His phone buzzed. One final text from the unknown number. Alone. No weapons. Walk through the main entrance. Try anything, and I cut off one of your brother's fingers. Jeremy's jaw tightened. He could feel Seojin watching through the SUV's-tinted windows. Could feel the weight of 36 eyes tracking him from hidden positions. Could feel the wire against his skin, the weapons concealed beneath his clothes, the panic devices that could end this in seconds. But mostly, he felt his own choice. Not Taesung's victim. Not Seojin's possession. Just Jeremy Frost, walking into hell with his eyes open because his brother needed him. Because he chose to. The factory entrance yawned before him. Darkness beyond. Daniel somewhere inside. Taesung waiting with whatever horrors he prepared. Jeremy took a breath. Felt the cool metal of the device in his pocket. The ring on his finger. The blade at his ankle. And walked forward. Into the darkness. Into the trap. Into his own ending, finally chosen, finally his. Behind him, Seojin whispered into his comms, all units stand by. Do not engage unless he triggers. This is his choice. Ahead, somewhere in the shadows, Taesung's laugh echoed. Welcome home, Omega. Jeremy's hand moved to his pocket. Closed around the panic device. Not yet. Not yet. He stepped through the entrance, and the darkness swallowed him whole. To be continued. What do you think Taesung has planned? Drop your theories below, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.